We like to believe the worst atrocities are behind us, that the mass killings of the past are lessons, not blueprints. But what if I told you that from an Aztec temple in 1520 to an aid station in Gaza in 2025, the same tactic has been used over and over and over again? That the places people thought were safest, temples, churches, food lines, were turned into traps. This isn't just history repeating. It's a deliberate strategy refined over centuries. And once you see the pattern, you'll never unsee it.
Why does this keep happening?
The year is 1519, and the people of Cholula in modern-day Mexico have gathered to welcome their guests. These guests are some strange Spaniards, led by the mysterious Hernán Cortés. In one of the accounts, the Florentine Codex, they start the whole story of the conquest of Mexico with this one event. That's how critical it is. Written by a Spaniard, horrified by what his comrades had done to an impressive civilization, and having spoken to the survivors years later, this is what he told us. The people of Cholula have gathered in a public space. There's a hum in the air. They're excited. They wait. And then the screams start. Blood begins to trickle and then flow through the square. All the exits are blocked as the conquistadors butcher their victims. There's no way out. Dozens are dead within minutes. But according to Cortés, this wasn't senseless violence. It was necessary. You see, the Cholulans had made a secret deal with the Aztecs to ambush the Spanish. And let me tell you, if they had done that, the conquistadors would have been cooked. But alas, it didn't happen. The Aztecs don't show up looking confused. They just never turn up. It could be that Cortés was lying. We'll never know if the ambush was real, but the Aztecs never arrived. And what we do know is this: Cortés used it as an excuse to butcher hundreds. But why?
Based on what we've seen from other incidents like this throughout history, it's to send a message. What that message is, we'll soon find out.
But this was just the start of the conquest of Mexico. The Aztecs may not have been there, but they'd soon hear more than an echo of this massacre. A month goes by, and in the Aztec capital of Tenochtitlan, they notice a small band of strangely dressed men heading their way. The Aztec ruler, Moctezuma II, is curious and gives them royal treatment. He's going to regret this. But to be clear, he has the numbers both in the city and elsewhere to crush them if he wants to. So he doesn't see much of a threat. Yet. Cortés was amazed. Tenochtitlan was bigger and grander than any city in Europe, but he didn't want to just admire it. He wanted to own it. 6 months go by, and he's been busy. He's taken Moctezuma hostage, using him as a puppet. Tension rises in the city as the people notice something is wrong. But while Cortés is scheming, he hears that his boss on Cuba has sent a small army to arrest him. He's already gone against orders by exploring this area without permission. It's gone too far for his bosses. He rushes out of the city with some men to stop. And while Cortés is away, Pedro de Alvarado is in charge. During a meeting with Alvarado, Moctezuma asks for permission to celebrate an important festival. And Alvarado gives the go-ahead, with conditions. No weapons, no sacrifices, and no deaths at all. Now, nearly every man in Aztec culture is a warrior, but they follow the orders. No weapons. On the 22nd of May, 1520, the great and the good of the city turn up at the Templo Mayor, or Great Temple. They're here to honor their god. And here's the Aztec account of what happened next. At this time, when everyone was enjoying the celebration, when everyone was already dancing, when everyone was already singing, when song linked to song, and the songs roared like waves, they came into the patio, armed for battle. They came to close the exits, the steps, the entrances. And when they had closed them, no one could get out anyway. They came on foot, carrying swords and wooden and metal shields. At that moment, they then attacked all the people, stabbing them, spearing them, wounding them with their swords. They struck some from behind who fell instantly to the ground. The blood of the warriors ran like water. The ground was almost slippery with blood, and the stench of it rose. The Spaniards come up with excuses as to why they had to kill everyone. But this time they've lost control of the situation. People outside the temple realize what's happened and scream for any warriors with weapons to come and fight. They fire arrows and spears at the conquistadors. But this is where we leave this story. We've seen 2 cases where the same group of people butchered other human beings without any reasonable excuse.
And here we have 2 of the first examples of people using the pretense of safety to trap others and butcher them.
But sadly, this has only increased in frequency over time, as we're about to find out. 505 years and 5 days after the Templo Mayor massacre, it happened again. On the 27th of May 2025, the world heard another echo from history. Reports of Palestinians being gunned down while desperately looking for food started to emerge. These are people on the edge of starvation after a brutal blockade of Gaza lasting months. On the first day of new aid arriving, they were told that aid would only be distributed in one part of Gaza, Rafah, causing everyone to gather in the same area. With barely enough energy to even get there, many managed to make it. And then, what no one expected at an aid station: gunfire. Screams are heard, people run for their lives, and their worst fears are confirmed. 3 dead. The next day, they hope it's behind them, a one-off. Their families, their friends, their children are starving. They have to try. Gunshots again. It's later confirmed that 40 more people are dead.
For those 40 people, and many more before and since, there was no way out. I must add, Israel denies this.
We still hear of attacks at aid stations and elsewhere. A place that should be peaceful, that should give hope, has become another place of sorrow.
But this isn't a pattern we've only seen against the Aztecs and against people in Gaza. We have 3 concrete examples from the 20th century that will help shed light on why this happened.
Sétif, My Lai and Rwanda may mean something to you.
They certainly will after this.
The Nazis have been defeated.
All evil is gone from the world, right?
Algerians are celebrating in the street, not just because the war is almost over, but they think they're free from the French. They are waving flags and chanting for their independence to be made official. But alas, no. The French soldiers start firing at them, and the bloodbath begins. Even when the protesters have been driven away, with many dead, that's not enough. A countrywide terror campaign is carried out by the French, killing tens of thousands. Searches of houses, summary killings, bombings. It's familiar, right?
You may think this is a bit different. It's a protest.
Technically yes, but it's the same outcome. A barbaric massacre of people asserting their freedom who aren't expecting to be murdered in the street, in their homes. And the echoes keep coming. In the Vietnam War, the USA committed a massacre against a village called My Lai. It was covered up, but eventually the truth came out.
Our final modern echo is Rwanda.
We won't get into the depths of the Rwandan genocide today, but aspects of it rhyme with everything we've heard here. But there's a twist. In total, around 800,000 of the ethnic minority Tutsis were murdered by the majority Hutus. But a few incidents bring us full circle to the massacre of Temple Mayor in Tenochtitlan in 1520. Hundreds of Tutsis in Niangue are terrified of what's going to happen to them and go to a place of safety, a church. Athanasi Saromba, a Catholic priest, welcomes over 1,500 refugees with open arms, and he has a plan. He hands over the keys and gives carte blanche for the murderers to do what they want. And what they wanted was to bulldoze the church with the people inside and then shoot or stab anyone trying to run away.
There was no way out.
When the genocide ended, Athanasi Saromba fled Rwanda. Knowing he was in trouble, he moved near Florence in Italy using a fake name and was helped by Catholic priests to hide his identity. But there was a tiny bit of justice. The International Criminal Tribunal for Rwanda had found him, and eventually he gave himself up. He pleaded not guilty to genocide, complicity in genocide, conspiracy to commit genocide, and extermination as a crime against humanity. No one believed him, and he was given 15 years in prison. Okay, doesn't seem proportionate, does it? He appealed to get the conviction overturned. And in a delicious twist, the tribunal said that the sentence was indeed wrong. He should spend the rest of his life in prison.
Just to be clear, I'm not very pro-prison, but in his case, he can rot in hell. So as we can see, there's a pattern to this. So why does it keep happening?
We've seen massacres in squares, temples, villages, churches and aid stations in Central America, Southeast Asia, the Middle East and North Africa. Why does this keep repeating itself? Why do states keep attacking people when they feel safest? Because terror works. Fear breaks resistance faster than bullets. But there's another side to this. All of these incidents have something to do with colonialism, either directly with the Aztecs, Algeria, Vietnam or Palestine, or indirectly with Rwanda. Desperate regimes will do anything to win, and beating enemy combatants can be difficult, but the thing they can guarantee is that a terrified population is going to struggle to fight back. It's a tactic that has sadly worked for over 500 years, and is still working today in 2025.
I know this has not been a fun video to watch, I apologise for that. But once I saw this connection, I just couldn't help but start researching it. And once I'd researched it, I just couldn't help but make this video to make other people aware. And at roughly the same time, I also saw this statement that rang so true. History teaches, but there are no pupils. And we really need to change that, right?
If there's a message I want people to take away from this, it's that yes, this keeps happening, and we should look out for signs of a state or large group using violence to make a population quake in fear. But also, the fact that we can point this out for what it is helps us put pressure on those who can end it. Even Bill Clinton, of all people, eventually admitted it was a mistake to not intervene in Rwanda. Too little, too late. But the more we point these injustices out, the more pressure we can build, and the more people we can prevent this happening too, now and in the future. And one of the things I skipped over in this video was the conquest of the Aztecs. We saw the beginning, but we didn't really see how it ended. If the Aztecs had the numbers, why did they lose to a few hundred Spaniards? The answer might surprise you.